Another week, another mock draft here on Verts. My name is Harrison Graham, 8.0, and we're going to spice things up, do a 2-round mock draft. We did a 2-rounder about a month ago, so going to bring that back. At some point, I think we'll go 3 rounds, but that'll probably be as far as we go. Let's go ahead and dive in here. A lot of momentum. All the chatter is Cam Ward going to Tennessee. I think something unforeseen would have to happen for that to change. They have not added a notable vet in free agency. They're not going to do it with Will Levis again. Cam Ward to the Titans seems close to a lock at this point. The question is what do the Browns do at number 2? Do you just take the swing at Shedeur Sanders? Do you go BPA? Do you go pass rusher? Abdul Carter, pairing him with Myles Garrett, that's a pretty fun pairing for the foreseeable future. I think that's the safest and best route to go if they're not sold on Shedeur. So that's where I'm going to go right here. Giants at number 3 in this scenario do take Shedeur Sanders. I think even if they do win the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes, or certainly if they end up with Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston, if Shedeur is sitting there at 3, I think you owe it to yourself as a franchise to take the swing. Obviously, depending on what happens in free agency, could dictate that. And obviously, if the Browns take Shedeur, I would not take a third QB here. I would take someone else. The Patriots then land Travis Hunter with the number 4 overall pick. Special talent, can play both ways. He wants to play both ways. If I'm the Patriots, I might even let him play both ways because Drake May still needs a good weapon on offense. For that team, wide receiver may actually make more sense than corner. Okay, Mason Graham, number 5 to the Jags. I'm not sure what happens if the first 4 players are the 2 quarterbacks, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. Do you go Mason Graham? Do you try to trade down if you're Jacksonville? I'm not doing any trades in this mock. We'll do some in the next one, but for now, I go Graham to Jacksonville. Ashton Jeanty lands with the Raiders at 6. I think it's either Vegas or Chicago, and we know Pete Carroll wants to run the football. They don't have a true RB1. They signed Raheem Mostert. Zamir White, give me a break. Ashton Jeanty, I think, is someone I could see Pete Carroll and John Spytek targeting here. Tyler Warren to the Jets at 7. I think if they go BPA on offense, Warren fits that bill. Get yourself a nice kind of middle of the field option for Justin Fields, whereas Garrett Wilson can operate on the outside. Jalon Walker, the linebacker edge hybrid, I think in Carolina's system is worthy of a high pick. Ejiro Evero can get pretty creative with a player like this, play him off ball, play him off the edge in a 3-4 scheme. I think that fits his talents best. All right, guys, we're trying to get to 9,000 subscribers here on Verts. We're growing like crazy thanks to all of you. We got to get to 9K before the draft. That's a must. Let's make it happen. If you want daily content, if you want more NFL news, rumors, draft coverage, mock drafts, subscribe today. We'll continue to bring you guys the coverage. Okay, the Saints go Tetairoa McMillan at number 9 overall. Pair him with Chris Olave. I think that's a pretty fun pairing. Kellen Moore, offensive coach. Get Derek Carr another weapon. In this scenario, I got Armand Mimbu, the offensive lineman out of Missouri, going to the Bears. I think with his arm length measurables, he at least has a better chance to be a left tackle long-term, which is the Bears' biggest question on their offensive line long-term. If not, he could just be a top backup as a rookie and then plug in at guard the following year if they decide to move on from one of Jonah Jackson or Joe Thuney. I think this is just kind of a BPA / versatility on the offensive line pick. And then the Niners go Will Campbell. I think they'd rather have Mimbu because their biggest need on the O-line is probably right tackle. Mimbu has been primarily a right tackle in college. Will Campbell, I think, could play right tackle. Arm length is a question there, but I think on the right side it could work. Worst case, you could kick him side, play him at left guard next to Trent Williams. Mike Green goes to Dallas at number 12. They lose DeMarcus Lawrence. They need to add some help at the edge position, and I think Green fits that mold. Josh Simmons, the tackle out of Ohio State, goes to Miami. They've got Patrick Paul, the second rounder from last year. Teron Armstead expected to retire. If they don't love Paul or if they want competition there, maybe Simmons flips to the right side or Paul does. Simmons could be a guy come and compete, and also coming off that injury, they have someone in place if Simmons isn't quite ready. Kelvin Banks Jr. goes to the Colts at 14. I think he'd play on the inside in Indianapolis. They lost their center. They lost their guard to Minnesota. Plug in Banks at guard, and then maybe long-term he's one of your tackles. Matthew Golden, the receiver out of Texas, lands with the Falcons. That's a pretty fun receiving room if you go Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Matthew Golden. There's been some trade rumors around Kyle Pitts, but if you keep him as well, that's a pretty fun core four. Bijan Robinson coming out of the backfield, pretty good offensive line. I mean, if you're Michael Penix, that's a pretty good offensive arsenal to take over as the full-time starter. Kenneth Grant, the Michigan defensive tackle, lands in Arizona. They just need to get beefier on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive line. And the word beef is really one way to describe Kenneth Grant, just a massive human being, can stuff the run, gives you a little juice as a pass rusher. I think middle of round one is good value for him. Okay, Mykel Williams goes 17 to Cincinnati. Sounds like they're going to find a way to make it work with Trey Hendrickson, but they still need much more on defense. If I'm Cincinnati after locking up Chase and Higgins, unless it's an offensive lineman, I'm loading up on defense in the first 2 days. Get better on that side of the ball because you know Joe Burrow and company are going to score points. Gray Zabel lands in Seattle for their offensive line. Other than left tackle, they just need to add. They might sign Tevin Jenkins. They did not sign Garrett Bradbury. They could use a center. They could use a guard. Some would say a right tackle. Zabel can play all three interior positions, so you kind of just draft them and plug them in wherever they need a starter. Jahdae Barron lands with the Bucs at number 19. I like this one. Todd Bowles, creative defensive coach. Barron, a versatile defensive back, can play nickel outside. You play him a little in the box, can play some safety as well. You feel like that would be a team that could figure out a way to maximize his talents. I'm going to go Colston Loveland for the Broncos at 20. A lot of buzz. They could go running back here. I think I went Hampton last time for Denver, so I'll go tight end this time. Denver's tight end room was pretty bad last year. Loveland is a first-round talent. If it weren't for Tyler Warren, he'd be the first tight end taken in this draft. Okay, here we go. Jackson Dart to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're all on Aaron Rodgers' watch, but even if the Steelers win the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes, just like I said earlier with the Giants and Shedeur Sanders, I mean, that's at best, what, a 2-year situation? Jackson Dart sits back for a year, maybe 2, learns behind one of the greatest to ever play in Aaron Rodgers, and then takes over in a year or 2. He's got a lot of talent. I'm not as high on him as others, but there seems to be momentum to him going in round 1. I could see Pittsburgh being that team to take him. How many quarterbacks do you think will get drafted in the first round this year? I do think a third one slips in there. Maybe it's Jackson Dart. Maybe it's Jalen Milroe after he ran a 4.37 in the 40 at Alabama earlier today. I'm not super high on Milroe, but it only takes one team. So if you had to guess, how many quarterbacks go day 1? Will Johnson, the Michigan corner, falls to the former Michigan man, Jim Harbaugh. I think he would just be salivating at the opportunity to take his former corner, and they could use another guy on the back end. Green Bay selects Shamar Stewart. I'm not as high on Stewart, but you get into the 20s, his physical profile, like he's worth a swing at this point in the first round. The production did not meet the athletic traits in college, but with some NFL coaching, maybe he could take off. Donovan Ezeraku, kind of the opposite, smaller defensive end, still a really good athlete, but smaller than Stewart, not kind of built in a biolab, but a much more polished pass rusher. That's what Minnesota would be getting here. Brian Flores could deploy him in a lot of different ways. Houston goes Tyler Booker at 25. I think the best pure guard left. They just signed Cam Robinson to be their left tackle, so Booker can plug in play at one of their guard spots because their guards, quite frankly, stink. And I think Booker would be an upgrade. Jahad Campbell, 26 here. I have him sliding just a bit. He did have surgery for a torn labrum. The Rams could use a linebacker. I actually love this fit a lot. He blitzed a lot at Alabama as well, so it could be a secondary pass rusher also. Nick Manwari goes to the Ravens at 27, which you're kind of thinking, of course, Baltimore would get someone like this. I mean, you put him next to who's the Kyle Hamilton. Thank you very much. I mean, that is potential fireworks at the safety position. That's pretty fun to think about if you're a Ravens fan. Emeka Egbuka lands in Detroit. They could kind of use that number 3 receiver. You've got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You've got Jamison Williams. I think Egbuka's skill set is pretty similar to St. Brown, so a guy to learn under from there. Then you've got a pretty good trio to work with moving forward. Today's show is sponsored by Turtle Beach, the #1 gaming headsets and accessories come from Turtle Beach. I'm rocking my Turtle Beach headset today, and it picks up audio so clearly that you're basically cheating when you game. Get 10% off with code chat at turtlebeach.com/chat. I personally recommend you get their all new Stealth 700 headset, as the sound quality and comfort are incredible. The 3D spatial audio has taken my gaming to the next level, especially in fast-paced games like Fortnite and Call of Duty. The Stealth 700 headset also has the industry's first ever crossplay dual wireless transmitter system. That means you can seamlessly switch between your consoles and your PC with just the click of a button. And it gets even better, folks. While being connected to your console, the Stealth 700 can connect with your phone for music streaming or taking calls at the same time. Listen to your favorite songs while gaming, all done with the Stealth 700. Head over to turtlebeach.com/chat. Use code chat to get 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off at turtlebeach.com/chat with code chat. After your purchase, tell us we sent you for Verts at Chat Sports. That'll help support the show. And listen, get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today with that link and promo. All right, let's round out the first round here. I doubt Marion Hampton slides this far in the actual draft, but if he does, I mean, if you're the Commanders, I think you're doing cartwheels. You add him to that offense, that's pretty fun there at 29. Maxwell Hairston, I do think he sneaks into round 1 with his 40 time at the combine. That speed and size combination at corner, pretty rare. So Buffalo adds him at 30. Walter Nolan lands with the Chiefs at 31. Some chatter he could slide. Andy Reid's a big guy who will take chances on players, and you bring him into their culture, sit behind Chris Jones. I think his comp skill set is similar to that of Chris Jones as an interior pass rusher, so that could be kind of an ideal landing spot for him. And then another defensive tackle, Derek Harmon out of Oregon, lands with the Eagles at 32. They obviously lost a lot of defensive linemen in free agency. Brandon Graham retired. We'll certainly look to replenish there. Okay, round 2, Luther Burden III kicks off the second round. He goes to the Browns at 33. Darius Alexander, the Toledo defensive tackle. They need someone to pair with Dexter Lawrence on the interior. Their edges are kind of set. I think Alexander next to D-Law, Big Dex would be a lot of fun. James Pierce Jr. falls to the second round. There's some chatter this could happen. The way this mock fell, it just kind of did. I for Tennessee here. He played his college ball there. You would have a little extra scouting on him if you feel good about it. I think at this point in the draft, the top 15 talent, get him at 35. They took a risk on T'Vondre Sweat last year. That paid off. He played well. They could do the same this year with James Pierce Jr. Alec Aomaner, the receiver out of Stanford. Trevor Lawrence needs a weapon on the outside. They lost Christian Kirk. They lost Evan Ingram. Start to replenish that with Aomaner. Pair him with Brian Thomas Jr. You're on the right track. TJ Sanders, an interior pass rusher. You add him to that Raiders defense. Jeanty in round 1, Sanders round 2. What does Pete Carroll want to do? Run the ball, be physical, play defense. 2 draft picks kind of check those boxes. Josh Connerly Jr. lands with the Patriots at 38 as the Oregon offensive tackle is viewed as a late round 1, early round 2 guy. Patriots got to add a left tackle, man. I think if you get Connerly in the second round, you're pretty happy. Bears go Nick Scorton here, big pass rusher out of Texas A&M, 6'5", 6'6", about 280 pounds. That checks the box of what Dennis Allen is looking for. Big, long, athletic defensive lineman off the edge. Scorton has those traits. Landon Jackson also has him, and he goes to Dennis Allen's former team, the New Orleans Saints. Perfect guy to learn under, still playing. Cam Jordan, ideal fit for him. Bears back on the clock here. They go Quinshon Judkins. I do think the Bears, with one of their first 3 picks, 10, 39, or 41, will select a running back. I think Judkins is the best one on the board. I think he's the 3rd best back in this class. Malachi Starks, there's some chatter he could slip here. And listen, if you're Aaron Glenn, you get this guy in the second round. I mean, that's pretty fun. Glenn played DB for a long time in the NFL. I think that would be a great fit. JT Tuimoloau lands with the 49ers at 43. They just got to get better in the trenches on both sides. Will Campbell round 1, Tuimoloau round 2. You're on the right track with those 2 picks. Travion Henderson to Dallas at 44. I'm not as high on him compared to others, but I think if you're trying to go with the 1-2 punch, they signed Javonte Williams, kind of a between-the-tackles thumper. While Travion Henderson doesn't have the best vision, he's very explosive and he has good burst in space. I think his skill set meshes well with Javonte Williams. I think that creates a pretty fun 1-2 punch in Dallas. Okay, Demetrius Knight Jr. goes to the Colts at 45. They could use an off-ball linebacker. Older prospect, 25 years old. If he was 22, he'd probably be a first-round pick. Braden Swinson, the edge out of LSU. Big, long, athletic, 6'5", 6'6". Falcons have been trying to solve pass rush for years. Maybe Swinson helps check that box. Jack Bech, the TCU wide receiver, goes to Arizona at 47. They've got Marvin Harrison Jr. They've got Michael Wilson. They need another guy. Bech can play some big slot. He can play a big slot. He can play on the outside as well. Versatile player. I think 40s, 50s, that's somewhere where he'll go. Xavier Watts, the safety out of Miami. They obviously lost Javon Holland. You help replace him here with Watts. 13 picks his last 2 years at Notre Dame. Some of the best ball skills of any defensive back in this draft. Who is your favorite player in this draft? I really like Xavier Watts. Drop a name down in the comments below. Doesn't have to be like one of the obvious guys in the top 5 or 6. Can be someone later in the draft as well. How about Donovan Jackson? I mean, if you're the Bengals, you get him at 49. That's pretty good. They've been flirting with Tevin Jenkins some. If they don't get him, maybe you add Jackson to play guard. Jack Sawyer, the other Ohio State edge rusher, lands with Seattle at 50. Mike McDonald, pretty damn good defensive-minded coach. Worked with a lot of different type of pass rushers in Baltimore. Get him another chess piece here in the second round. Caleb Johnson goes to Denver at 51. I went tight end in the first round, running back in the second round. Those are kind of the two holes on Denver's offense. Sean Payton checks both of those boxes. Jaden Higgins goes to the Seahawks at 52. You traded DK Metcalf. You got pick 52 back. Jaden Higgins, big physical outside receiver. There's your replacement. Alfred Collins, the defensive tackle out of Texas, lands with the Buccaneers at 53. That's a lot of beef in there with him and Vita Vea. Good luck running the football against that team. Javon Revell Jr., just saw an update on him. He reached 21 miles per hour on the treadmill after having ACL surgery in October. He's on track to be fully cleared by the summer. If he did not have this injury, I think he's a first-round talent. You get him in the later part of round 2. That's good value for Green Bay. Elijah Arroyo, the tight end out of Miami, goes to the Chargers. They need to either take a tight end or receiver early. They get a tight end here, another weapon for Justin Herbert. Buffalo goes Jared Ivey, another big athletic defensive end here. Had a really high pass rush win rate for Ole Miss last year. I want to say it was like 20% as Buffalo adds to that defensive line. Another Iowa State receiver, Jalen Noel, goes to Carolina. Adam Thielen, this is probably his last year. Noel can be the replacement, and quite frankly, might replace him this season. Ariante Ursery goes to Houston here. I kind of like this setup. They just signed Cam Robinson, but it's only a 1-year deal. Ursery could basically redshirt this year. Work on the technique a little bit because he needs some refining there, but he's got all the tools to be a left tackle in the NFL. 3-year starter in the Big Ten at Minnesota, could take over in 2026. Princely Umar-Maleen lands with Baltimore at 59. I love the scheme fit here as he's pretty long, but not the biggest defensive end. Doesn't play the run super well, but a good pass rusher. He heads to Baltimore. Kyle Kennard, another good pass rusher, goes to Detroit. As they add another piece to that front four. Okay, wrapping things up here. Washington adds in defensive tackle and Tyleik Williams. They obviously cut Jonathan Allen, so they need a guy to come in there, rotate in. Tyleik Williams is someone they could develop. Buffalo adds a linebacker, Carson Schweizinger, out of UCLA, had a really good combine. Matt Milano, how much longer is he going to play with the Bills? I know they just redid his contract. He's had some injury concerns. So you add him to that part of the defense as well. Cameron Williams, I think the Chiefs at some point are going to have to take an offensive tackle. Really good traits. Probably not ready to play as a rookie, but Jalen Moore, his 2-year deal is really more like a 1-year deal. So maybe Cameron Williams is a swing tackle this year and gets an opportunity to start the next year. Then the Eagles wrap up the second round with Miami wide receiver Xavier Restrepo. They've got their 2 outside guys in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Put Restrepo in the slot. That offense is kind of complete with Saquon out of the backfield and that offensive line. So there you go, my 2-round mock draft after we're about a week and a half into NFL free agency. Still a few dominoes to fall, especially at quarterback with Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Give us a grade. Grade this 2-round mock draft. How do you think we did? A, B, C, D, or F? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. plenty of draft content to come. We're just over a month away from this year's NFL draft. Going to be a whole lot of fun. We'll continue to pump out the content here on 4 Verts. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll see you soon.